Sensing his setup, I made a plan to investigate the columbarium after dark. I watched and waited for all the employees to leave and broke in through a side door. It was a gorgeous, eerie space in the moonlight. It looked like an ancient European library inside, but instead of books, the niches held ashes. Given the Euclideans' apparent penchant for literature and death, I couldn't think of a more fitting place for them to meet. I headed to the office and searched through the employee records for Tom Sean's folder, but came up empty. Had someone beaten me here? A back door led to a cramped set of stairs going down to the basement. The lights didn't work, so I turned my flashlight on and headed down. Weird, distorted shadows leapt across the wall, made by my own movements in the garish light. At the bottom, a long hallway stretched ahead with a thick metal door at the end. This must be where the bodies were kept. I heard a faint noise, but I couldn't quite make out what it was. I had watched the place for a long time before I came in. I was certain there was no one here. Carefully, with my 45 in one hand and my flashlight in the other, I crept down the hall, trying not to focus on the growing smell of decay. Every instinct I had told me to turn around and forget this whole rotten case. But that would mean being less than who I am. I am Captain Midnight, and I've made an oath to the secret squadron. One of our own was murdered in cold blood, and I'd be damned if I would give up on her. This I swore until my dying breath. I opened the heavy door, and there was an instant rush of atonal koto music blaring from a weary old gramophone in the corner, and the overpowering scent of magnolias. Candles lined the circular room. The walls held polished metal drawers for the corpses, as you'd expect in a morgue. In the pool of darkness in the middle of the room, I could make out a coffin, which had been set up like an elegant dining room table. Two huge bouquets were arranged at both ends of the coffin, and in the middle sat a very still man. "Hands up! I've got a gun!" I yelled. I dropped my flashlight and pointed my weapon directly at him with both hands. My heart was beating out of my chest. The man did not move. The music blared on. We stayed like that for what seemed like a very long time, both of us completely still. Finally, I edged toward the coffin to get a better view, and my eyes began to adjust to the dim light. The man was wearing the Edgar Allan Poe death mask which Barbara had described. As I got closer, he still failed to move, and it began to dawn on me that this man was likely dead. A cup full of what looked like blood was in front of him, atop the fine china place setting. Slowly, I reached out with one hand to untie the mask. The eyes had been carved out of his face, but I still recognized Drake Grimore instantly. Somehow, the Euclideans had found him and had taken this sickening revenge. Now I had not just one dead spy on my hands, but two. I looked around the area carefully for clues. There was a panel of skin around Drake's neck, which they removed and lay across his lap, under his hands like a dinner napkin. On the flap, some mysterious symbols were carved and a coded message. I would need to find some type of decoder to decipher what it said. To make such intricate carvings on this skin must have taken real skill. Lucky for you, I've transposed it onto paper off the original material, for you to have as a clue. I looked closely at the table setting and noticed that a paintbrush was placed next to the butter knife. I looked more closely at the reddish liquid and realized it had a sweet smell. I remembered the business card with disappearing text, and I painted the liquid across the surface. To my amazement, an address was revealed. This would be my next stop. Keep going, Captain Midnight. P.S. Crossword clue is: what is the Japanese name for the source of your next clue?